Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a TruthENTFilms.com presentation. We are aware, awoke, alive. We exist to bring you a fresh perspective on today's hot button issues. This is the Triple A Podcast with your hosts, Tia McCrary and Jamar B.V. Harris.
This is the Triple A Podcast, episode number 61, with your co-host Black V with Tia.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Don't act like you ain't missed me, goddamn.
They missed your sexy ass girl. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're looking like a chocolate drop, girl. Mm-hmm. Oh, mm-hmm. And look, I got my hair all cut off over here, looking like a milk dud and shit. Like, Charles S. Dutton head. Over here looking like Rock. Looking like Rock off. Remember his show Rock? Yo, Tia. That's Tia. I'm Black V. The co-host is here as usual, B80, aka Jeremiah Kitchen. This is a True Film Entertainment project. The AAA podcast is brought to you also by AAA Productions, and we are here alive, awoke, and aware. Yes. Shout out to young Ashley, couldn't be with us for this episode. We love you, girl. Definitely go ahead and do your business. And we are here and having your back. And you know, if you need us, you got us. We're only one phone call, text message, and I still got a pager, so you can page me. And we there for that ass. Tia!
Yes.
What's up, sis? How you been? What's new? What's good?
I've been pretty damn good lately. Nothing new though. Nothing new.
Shout out to Monica and Jesse.
Yes. Shout out to all of y'all. Yes, and Darius, your crazy ass, my crazy little brother. Love
Shout out to the LGBTQ.
Yes. The Lions Den boxing community got mad love for all those kings and queens over there. Stay putting in work regardless of the trolls and the idiots they have to deal with every day. So shout out to you all.
I believe that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So we left off in last episode we were covering over a whole bunch of things. We had fuck your facts, hashtag that. And we had some crazy stuff going on. We're happy that Tia's okay because, you know, somebody went and robbed her job. And some people think it was an inside job. And I don't know why they keep thinking that. The mastermind behind the whole thing might have been the lady who normally used to seat people and stuff like that. But we're not going to get into that.
You a damn lie.
I'm just saying, the police called me asking me questions. I'm like, nigga, I ain't never even been here before. They're like, well, she seemed like a very aggressive and hostile person. I said, well, I cannot deny that. I won't lie. I plead the fifth. But no, I'm happy. Your people, your coworkers, everybody is safe.
Yes.
We have a quick thing to go over because I know this episode is mainly about the meat and potatoes, definitely within comparison to then and now, us versus our grandparents, but it was something I wanted to touch on. And I know, Tia, you haven't seen it yet, and I'm quite sure B80, you haven't seen the Dave Chapelle new stand-up on Netflix.
No, I haven't.
You haven't? Man, I kept hearing so much about it, and I know he had a lot of transgender people. The transgender community was very upset.
Mm-hmm.
And
what I didn't understand was, what were they upset about?
Because the majority of it was really about the LGBTQ XYZ, and I no disrespect, but I lost with all the alphabet letters, but about their community, and a lot of it was about, you know, just his experience, and from the last time he did a stand-up and the backlash from it. Mm-hmm. And the dopest part about it is he borrowed a little bit of a la Chris Rock, where he the whole stand-up had a moral. It was kind of like it was a moral to the story. And when you listen to the stand-up, you're gonna be like, wow, because I mean, he went in where I was like, yeah, it's gonna be a lot of sensitive ass people that's gonna want this taken down. But I think at the end of it, it's worth it. It's definitely funny. There's some crazy. Yeah, there's some moments you're gonna be like, whoa, he didn't just say what I think he just said, but he kept it real, he kept it funky, but he kept it true. And then it kind of was like at the end of it, it was one of those moments where you're like, damn, that was good. That was good. Because you know how Chris Rock is, he's funny, but he's like teaching you something at the same time and talking about a lot of serious topics and issues going on. It was kind of like one of those things, but it was definitely it was like the whole thing was a setup to make a point at the end.
Gotcha.
So the whole comic strip is about trans people?
No, it's not just about it, but I would say majority of the content is just about his different experiences and whatnot. But it's funny as hell. And that was one thing I definitely wanted to make sure to tell y'all to go do. And some of of our listeners and now viewers, was that also I heard R. Kelly is snitching with his guilty ass.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Snitching what?
He's snitching on all the Hollywood
stars that
was
some
fucking
very
around with.
well-known names about some other people that are doing or have done the same thing he's going to jail for. That's what I heard.
Yep. Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, Kung Fu Kenny, Mary J. doing the Super Bowl halftime this year, so that's gonna be crazy for the Super Bowl. I can't wait to see that. So it's some things going on. We're growing as a process, as a brand, as a podcast, as a team. So we look out for more of that. If you haven't seen it, which I recommend you go check out A Ball in a Dream. Season 2 is going to be even doper. Jeremiah is just an amazing, hard-working individual.
Yes,
who's out there
yes, he is.
Doing amazing things. So when he's not busy out there filming or recording podcasts or doing God's work in the community, he stays busy and stays doing it, and it's always about growth. So be on the lookout for more of that, and we'll be able to give you more of that with our YouTube channel. Definitely way more content is our goal as we grow. So Tia, us versus our grandparents. Interesting conversation between, which made me think of this quick short thing, or what made me think of this topic. This guy and this woman were having a conversation. It was super dope, and the guy was asking her some questions because both of them started off with them discussing about, of course, the hottest guy when it comes to this topic with modern women and men and stuff like that, Kevin Samuels. So it started them having an honest conversation about Kevin Samuels. And then they talked about I can't think of the brother's name, who's kind of big on YouTube, who has multiple wives, but he's a very positive Black man. He just has 2 wives or whatever the case. I can't think of his name right now, so I'm sorry. So, but they talked about him and they talked about Kevin Samuels. And then when they talked about Kevin Samuels, they were talking about how this question he asked this woman who, interesting enough, she was more of a Jamaican sister, whatever the case, but he was asking her, he was like, again, back to the whole thing of modern women wanting traditional men, that he said, but modern women aren't really, whatever case, traditional men don't know how to handle modern women and vice versa. And he was asking her, and this was a dope thing I think nobody's thought about. And he had heard Kevin Samuels ask the lady. He was like, Kevin Samuels asked the woman, he said, well, because he said he didn't date no women who were always on social media and stuff like that. That's what Kevin Samuels told the woman. And the woman was like, well, yeah, but I have my business and all this other stuff. And he's like, that's cool, do what you want to do. He said, just for me, I don't date women who are always on social media. And you know what I'm saying? Because that's always clamoring for like attention or whatever the case. And then she was like, well, keep in touch with my friends and all this other stuff. And he was like, okay. He said, I'm asking you this. And this is what made me think of this. He was like, how many, and I had to look at it. And my brother, we got, from our grandparents, but he was like, how many male friends did your grandmother have? And I had to think about it, and I was like, whoa, like grandma didn't have no bunch of guy friends like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I was thinking about, I was like, wow, like you think about it, there's guys that in the church who knew her, but even they kept a respectable distance from her. Like grandma didn't have a whole bunch of dudes like, oh, this my friend. Unless grandma was single and grandpa didn't pass. Grandma didn't have, you weren't catching no dudes at your house. When no dudes coming by from the church either if grandpa wasn't home. So it definitely made me look at like us from our grandparents and the way we are. Of course, things have changed with technology. And so there's access. But I was like, wow, like I think we date we date with fear nowadays. And so because of those fear, we don't have there's things our grandmother didn't have to, our grandmother feared certain things. And so women back then married for protection,
right,
and for safety, for safety, to be taken care of. I think that was a man's role. Now you have women that more or less, the world, in a messed up way to say it, because there's still stuff going on, where the women feel safer these days. There used to be a point in time where women would go out and they weren't going out unless they had a man with them. Now you can have a woman go to a bar by herself and be comfortable. You know, go to the bar and meet up with the girls, or go to the bar and meet a guy, whatever case. Women go out now. I'm not sitting there saying, the issue is not saying anything wrong with that, but it's the security that women have today versus that where our grandmothers didn't have.
Right.
And so in essence, our grandmothers needed that traditional man, that provider, that man who went out and brought home the bacon and went and made sure to protect this woman. And it was not okay for her to walk back, because especially for Black women, older women, our grandmothers, not only did they have to worry about some Black guy in their neighborhood or whatever case attacking them, they also had to worry about the police fucking with them because they were Black women. You know what I'm saying? Or a bunch of white guys jumping out and harassing or raping them or whatnot. So it was a lot of other different things to worry about, where women today feel much more secure. There was no 911 in grandma's era, I should say. The grandma didn't have 911 and all that stuff like we have today. So it made me think about all the other things that we have today, or how we're different from our grandparents. You know, the way our grandfather talked to our grandmothers, we can't talk like that too. You can't talk like, I ain't never seen most fathers don't talk like that. I can guarantee you, Jesse ain't getting away with talking crazy or whatever the case with Monica.
No.
We talked about that earlier.
No, not gonna happen.
Not gonna happen. And Oscar wasn't getting away talking to Laywan all crazy, man. Now weird part about it, Laywan would talk crazy, but Pops didn't really do the talking crazy thing and stuff like that. He wouldn't.
She didn't play. She still don't. She don't play.
He still don't. So it's interesting looking at it, and I was gonna ask you, like, what are some of the things you can remember? Because your grandparents were alive, like in your youth, right?
Right.
Okay, so what are some of the things that you can remember as far as the roles that were played between your grandmother and grandfather? Were they together for one as you growing up?
Well, you know what? When I was growing up, unfortunately, my grandmother died, like, I want to say when I was born, maybe when I was like 3 or 4.
Okay, so you didn't get to have that much. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't get to see them interact at all, like that. I don't even, my mom said I saw her a couple of times. I don't even remember it. So yeah, she died like either when I was born or a couple of years after. So yeah, I didn't even get to.
Oh, so you didn't get to see.
Right.
For me and my brother, we seen it where, as far as from Grandma Copeland and our grandfather, Papa, we call him Papa, but John Copeland, it was more of, I guess in a sense, he was a traditional man. She stayed home, she raised the kids, took in his kids, because he had kids from a previous marriage. She brought along kids from her previous marriage. And, he was, go to work, when I come from work, dinner better be ready, house better be clean, house ain't clean, he ready to whoop ass, like things like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, when the grandkids came over, he was putting this to work. I'm like, why I gotta clean out this dog pen? I don't live here, But the role was extremely traditional in a sense, like, and not in a sense, but to the word of it. Like, there was no men over the house. Like, I can't remember no men. If it wasn't our uncles or our cousins or her nieces and nephews, there weren't no men over the house like that.
Right.
And it was weird. Like my grandmother didn't even have a driver's license.
Mm-hmm.
Like she wasn't even driving. So I got to see and experience that. And I got to also see an experience from where my biological father's mother, who was married and divorced and married again, and I got to see from her, with her being still raised as a traditional woman. So you've seen things like I've seen her. He gets his food first. Like I've seen that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like before everybody else, he gets his food first. She would make his plate, everything else, but I also see her be extremely independent and do it herself, and even be in a better financial position than one of her husbands was, and taking care of more of the stuff in the household. So growing up and seeing her be able to fulfill both roles because of the way that she grew up, but also because she had to survive.
Right.
So she had to be stronger. So for you, I'm gonna ask you, in essence, like, what is it? Is there anything in the sense of a way that you may miss as far as a relationship that maybe in relationships that existed back then that you don't see as much in relationships today?
I miss genuine relationships. It seems like everybody, especially in the celebrity world, will get together strictly for publicity. And I bring up the celebrity world because of couples goals, and they have a lot of fans and a lot of normal people follow them and look to them and look to their relationship to try to mimic that relationship. And a lot of it is struggle love, glorifying it. A lot of it is dysfunctionality. A lot of it is glorifying the baby mama culture. And I just miss a genuine, loving family. Two people that unified because they wanted to build something together. You don't see that as much anymore. And if you do, you don't even really see that on TV. Now you do like, I don't know if y'all watch the Wonder Years. I love the new Wonder Years.
I heard the new Wonder Years is very dope. Yeah.
It is. I like it. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Now you see a genuine loving family there, a genuine loving Black family at that there. But for the most part, you don't see shows showcasing that anymore. I miss seeing that. Now don't get me wrong, everybody's relationship is different. Do what you do. I also miss keeping certain things between you two. I don't care who else you bringing into your relationship to sleep with it. I don't give a good goddamn.
But why post it? Why talk
Why post it? Yeah, why post it? I hate that. I hate posting anything relationship-wise, like on social media, because it's like, for one, I don't want to be posting all this, I love you, whatever the case, so much, and then we break up like 2 weeks later.
Exactly.
Or I cheated on you and you cheated on me, or something stupid like that. Now I'm sitting there looking like an asshole. You didn't post something about me and I'm a dog. Now you looking bad. Like, it ain't everybody's business. Like,
agreed.
Yeah.
Just like when, don't get me wrong, okay, D-Way and Gabrielle Union's that child, okay, I get it. That's his journey, fine. But you can't worry about your own damn kids when you posting every aspect of that journey, knowing how controversial that is.
Right.
Putting it out there for the world to see. That should have been, because my father kind of made a valid point. He was like, well, it was going to come out anyway. Maybe he figured he'd get ahead of it. I said, well, you cross that bridge when you get to it. He posted every aspect of that, I want to say. Right. We'll worry about
They wanted to control the narrative.
Right, which is fine.
Yeah,
right, understandable. But again, you can't be mad, and you know how people feel about stuff like that. So you can't be mad. People feel bad. They don't like nothing about that. They don't like anything about Black issues, and you know that. So if you post certain things, you have to be ready for the backlash. I just miss truly intimate moments between two people who love each other.
Yeah,
a genuine loving relationship. It's like everything good is bad and everything bad is good. It's not. Everything demonic is normalized.
Right. Well, yeah, because we're in a culture that overshares, but doesn't want to be held accountable for the things that doesn't want to, I guess, doesn't want to be judged off of the things we overshare.
Right.
Or doesn't want to be judged negatively. We want,
right.
Because like when you put something out to be consumed, like whether you're selling an image or you want people to see this or whatever you're doing, like you're basically showcasing something. And we only want to be highlighted for the good things and left alone. And it's not none of your damn business when the bad things.
And agree. And you know another thing people don't realize? When you post certain shit, that's going to be expected all the time. People don't realize, for whatever reason, celebrities, influencers, YouTubers, what have you, they're still human beings. But when you post like you just living this lavish life and your relationship is perfect and you don't have any issues, that can create a really unrealistic image, you know what I mean, of how a relationship is. Everybody, and I tell people all the time, there are some people that make it look like just because you're with somebody non-black that the grass is greener, and that's not always the case either.
No, it's not.
But how do you make it look like the grass is greener?
Well, okay, this guy made a post. I can't remember what social media site I was on. This was a long time ago. It might not even exist anymore. But he made it look like being with a black woman was nothing but drama, but be with a white woman ain't gonna be no drama, it's gonna be peaceful, this, that, and the third. And I was like, but it don't matter what the dynamic is. He posted, okay, we all know how suggestive pictures and photography and all that. Yeah. Okay. He posted pictures of, it was like a collage. Bottom, it was 3 pictures, but it was black couples. They were in the midst of an argument, a disagreement. But at the top, it was a white woman and a black man, white woman and a black man, white woman and a black man. But they showed them in like happy moments, right? So I can't remember what he said.
No, I get
but
the imagery.
Right, it was suggest. Right.
I thought you looked at his pictures and deducted that from his pictures.
No. Right. And
so he posted some suggestive shit, like
exactly. It doesn't matter what the dynamics of a relationship. You're gonna have differences. I don't care if it's an age gap. I don't care if it's a racial difference. I don't care if it's the same gender. I don't care. There are going to be disagreements and differences in a relationship. What matters is how you work through it. Some people, I saw a video about cheating respectfully. I was like, wait.
Jay-Z? I mean, not like that.
I'm like, okay, fine. But you still, whether the woman knows or not, you still humiliating her. You still out in the open. You still dogging the hell. I was like,
wait. I have the ignorant male, I guess, pushback on that. Listen, cheating is wrong, so we're not justifying cheating.
Right, at all.
But there's a right and a wrong way to fuck up.
I was really talking about.
You know, like if you're messing around with your woman and you're just being sloppy with, not even sloppy, just disrespectful, like you said, where you're out in the open, take her out and like you don't care, you take her out to places and all this other stuff and whatnot and going on dates with her or whatever. Like, nah, like you're being very disrespectful to the woman that you have home because you don't care who sees you.
Oh,
you don't give a fuck. Like you want to be caught. Like you want, in essence, you want to be found out. Like you don't care.
Right.
Then there are people who do it, but don't do none of those things. And I'm not saying it's right, but they're within their ignorance. They're not trying to be overly ignorant. Like it's like it's levels to the shit. Like where you have
but it is still wrong, though.
It's still wrong.
Still wrong, definitely.
Like you have a lot of very successful people in the world, not all, but a lot, who have, the women know that their husband are going to be out there, women are going to be all over their husband. And so they accept it. And so these women tell their husband, I don't want you cheating on me, but if you're going to be out there doing your dirt, protect yourself and don't be embarrassing.
Right, agree.
Yeah, you know,
that's
like
true. That's true.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you have to be willing to deal with what comes with it.
Right.
If you're willing,
Yeah.
you have to be able to do that. That's another thing I tell people all the time. You have certain things, if you know you're not going to be able to deal with it, then you better not. You're not going to change that person. They are who they are. They are set in their ways, and that is that.
So, Tia, do you believe it when they say that men and women view cheating differently? In the essence of, it's like for us, a woman can kind of forgive a man or whatever, or like when a man goes and cheats,
it's usually for physical reasons as opposed to a woman who will cheat for emotional reasons.
Right.
I've actually found that to be true.
Yeah.
I've actually found that to be true. And a woman is more forgiving. 9 times out of 10, a man, I say it all the time, because I knew a guy that was very passive. And when his wife cheated on him, he did not hesitate. He was gone, out, gone.
Yeah.
Just like I was telling him a few years ago, Tammy Rivera tried to shame women that didn't forgive cheating. That's what you want to do. You do. She did it time and time again. Fine, but you don't get to shame somebody else just because they not willing to put up with that shit.
No, everybody's pain tolerance is different.
Right.
And not everybody is like, so I'm sure there's things that Tammy had to accept with her husband being who he was.
Right, exactly.
And so doesn't make it right. Doesn't make it right for him to go cheat on her. Doesn't make it right for the times that T.I. cheated, which in essence he was cheating, but Tiny didn't care. She kind of
That's what I was
gonna
say. Yeah.
pass.
Well, it was time she cussed him out about it, but my thing is she knew he wasn't gonna change.
Right.
So
and they had an open relationship
and dealing with it.
Mm-hmm.
So
like
I mean,
Will Smith and Jada Pinkett had and still have a open.
Yeah, that's different though. They're open. They agreed to be open. No, Will Smith and Jada. They agreed to be open. So that's a whole different scenario. And that's what I mean. Now when you agree with that, okay, fine. But what do I always say? Emotions become involved. Yeah. Jealousy is a big factor.
I've seen it.
Yeah, I've seen. Listen,
do you feel that women put up with cheating more? Do you feel that women do you feel women put up with cheating more today, or do you think they put up with it more in the past? Back then when our grandmothers were with our grandfathers.
I think it's an even kill. I don't think that's ever changed or deviated in numbers. I think it's almost always been that way.
I think I want to agree as far as I think women put up with it more back then. But because in essence they felt like they had nowhere to go. It was harder for them to go out and be on their own.
That's true.
You know, a lot of men were out there having like multiple families at the same time.
Yes, I've heard stories like that too.
Yeah, a lot of people think and grandmas knew it and still held the family down, and it didn't become an issue. Like grandmothers just held the family together.
Yeah, Jamar.
Yeah.
I want to tell this thing real quick. So I'm at my Uncle Junior's house. You know, the one on Wilson, the old beat down house.
Yeah.
His dad, Grandpa Beach, pulls up in the driveway. Uncle Butch at the next house comes out, because you know they ain't seen each other in years, right?
Yeah.
Grandpa, and I'll never forget this phrase. Like, I didn't know what it meant, but I know it was the dopest fucking phrase I ever heard. He walks up to Uncle Butch, he's like, hey, what's happening? Uncle Butch's like, hey, what's happening with you? Grandpa Beach was like, I used to do them all night. Now it takes me all night to do them.
Player.
Right, and me and Uncle June looking like, what the fuck? Like, and this dude's like 80-something years old.
You pimp, you. Old school player.
Wow.
Ugh. Girl, you better quit messing around with that old man before he gives you worms.
Worms, that's what we call it.
That's what they used to say back in the days. They say you mess around with them old man, they give you worms. Just nasty. Just nasty. But women are more independent definitely today. And
now
so they're able to, if a man cheats, they're able to be like, you know what, get your shit, get the fuck out, and you know, the man got to go. Like,
right.
Yeah. So I think our grandmothers were kind of like stuck. They've been with this man. They didn't really have to work. So a lot of grandmothers were at home just raising the kids.
That's true.
And taking care of things like that. So if grandpa leaves you, you know what I'm saying? Like you SOL, you and the kids SOL. You got to try to figure it out.
Right.
Where now, you know, a lot of women can take care of themselves.
True. Just like that story I told y'all about many episodes ago about the guy. He was taught Sunday school or something. This was one of the super old cases, way back. I'm talking like maybe early 1900s. He was messing around on his wife, got the girl pregnant and murdered the girl. And the wife stayed with him anyway.
Wow.
They had like 5 or 6 kids together. Everybody knew he was fucking around with her. Members of the community, it was one of those small religious communities, so they didn't play that shit. They wouldn't told his boss or the guy over him in the Sunday school or something. And the guy in the Sunday school was like, look, stop it. You need to quit messing with this woman. You're a married man. Cut it out. He was doing it anyway. When he found out she was pregnant and wasn't gonna get rid of it, he ended up, and then not only it's bad enough he killed her, then he tried to burn her torso to hide the pregnancy. It was terrible. It was terrible. The wife ended up staying. Now in those times, a woman really didn't have a choice. She had, like you said, she had a bunch of kids. She took care of the kids. What was she gonna do?
Right.
I told you she damn near passed out in court when she had to lie for him. Because it was expected of her.
Yeesh.
Yeah, it was horrible. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna send y'all the case. So y'all, I'll send it to you.
So,
yeah, it was horrible.
So, quick question. This ties into what we talked about on the episode before, and it ties into what's going on today too with our generation versus our grandparents' generation.
Right.
And the question is more about circles to kind of the abortion argument, like what's going on now, like my body, my choice. But I've watched a lot of the politicians use the religious groups for the whole abortion thing, which is weird because back probably in our grandparents' days, a lot of, not all, but they're not even, I would say maybe anywhere between 35 to 45% of the women did it because they were feared because of the fact of religion, and because of their religious beliefs, or the fact of the shame that the parents felt that they would feel having teenage daughters or unmarried daughters who got married, and they didn't want to go through it. They didn't want to be shamed at church, be that family at church with the pregnant child. So you had a lot of families back then who were taking their daughters and secretly, and these are people who go to church, deacons, even pastor kids and everything else, and getting their kids to have abortion, which I find it.
Yeah, that's true.
I find it crazy now that like these religious groups want to be, you know, like at the forefront of it these days, but don't want to. I'm all for it. If you're against abortion, that's your choice.
Right.
I'm all for, okay, so you don't want like Texas, you don't want these women to get abortions, and you pass this law. And I posted it on Facebook. I said, so Texas should be the lead state with funding and people signing up to adopt children.
Right.
All these unwanted or unplanned children in the world, for people who may not be ready or have issues with drugs and stuff like that, who don't want these kids, then there needs to be a program ready to receive all these children that are in the world, because now you're creating a bigger hit. Now you have all these children, these people who are going to rely more on the system now.
Exactly.
So it's just like, you got to make it make sense. Like, what are you doing? But it's weird just watching the way the more things the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Exactly. And not only that, some of these priests and deacons were getting women pregnant. So Man, please. Listen, I do believe in a higher power. I'm more of a spiritual person, but I have never been one for organized religion. There's always been too many contradictions for me. It'd be a bunch of hypocrites and heathens in that motherfucker. Say what you will about me, but I'm honest about mine. God damn it. I'm not about to be sitting in no pew with no bunch of fake ass heathens, Holy Ghost, and knowing damn well they banging the boy past and the wife sitting right there acting like she don't know. I done seen all kind of crazy. Man, please. Church ain't nothing but a soap opera sometimes.
Man, well, yeah, some of the craziest things, some of your most classism exists in a lot of church.
Yes.
So a lot of different things in church. I've learned, and I have to definitely shout out to Pastor Major Johnson, for my ex-father-in-law. The biggest lesson he taught me was because he was, their family is in the church, of course, and I was married to a preacher's daughter, which is a whole nother story. But the best thing he taught me was that, in which I like to apply. I think these same people who call themselves really about the word and the spirit of the Lord, is that, why are you so worried about what everybody else is doing with their body or where their soul is going to be, when at the end of the day, like, it's your you're held responsible for your individual choice. It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter how big your church is, doesn't matter how great your pastor is, doesn't matter if your husband is saved or not. It's about your relationship with God. It's about that person's relationship with God. It's about them having an answer for it. It's about when that woman or that man pushes that woman or forces that woman to having to go get an abortion, or somebody rapes her and she has to make this choice. It's about her having to live with that consequence, or her having to make peace with God and actually giving this for God, for the choices she makes. Because you trying to force her to have this child or not, like, it has no thing on her, like her soul, like she's got to answer for that.
Right.
Your relationship with God, yours and yours alone, is what's gonna get you in.
Exactly.
Like it don't matter. You can go to a mega church, you can go to super small church. Your pastor could be Creflo Dollar, or you can be just Pastor Johnson from Third Baptist Church over there off Market Street.
Right.
Your relationship. Don't worry about who in church faking the funk. Don't worry about who in church acting like they got the Holy Ghost and really not. Who fucking the pastor and who not. It's about you and yours. Now, whether you choose to you need a bigger congregation, or whether you need a big church, or you need whatever you need to establish and get an understanding of your relationship with God. That's what it's about.
So but you don't get to tell that shit to everybody else what they ain't got no business doing, and your ass is a devious dog.
Right, yeah, because so who are you?
That.
I mean, that's being a hypocrite, period. Like, you're just becoming a hypocrite at that point when you're trying to. I get it when you're trying to help somebody, and there's a difference between counseling somebody and then judging somebody.
Right.
Right. And it just comes down to that. But like I said, it's our generation. Is we everything from social media plays a part into how we look at things in our generation compared to our grandparents.
Yes, that's true too.
The women today, it's so weird because that same conversation I told you them people was having about the dating and talk about the conversation Kevin Stan was having, was that a lot of women say, as much as a lot of women say that their grandmothers wanted them to would sit there and say, go to school or do whatever the case, so you don't need no man.
That's true too.
They were stuck needing these sorry ass grandfathers that some of us had,
right,
men and whatnot, and stuck needing them. And a lot of grandmothers didn't leave and stayed because they needed that man, and they felt that they didn't want to pass off to their daughter or their grandbabies to be stuck needing no damn man.
Right.
So
agreed.
It's interesting to hear that perspective, because I can remember my grandmother having that conversation with my sister, with our sister, and some of our other things, it's interesting with it. But I've also seen I won't say which grandfather, but I've also know of grandfather stepping out and putting our grandmother through hell, grandmother through hell, and cheating and just whatever the case. So it's kind of one of those things like we have to learn to communicate better in today's world. I think men have to step it up. I think women have to understand also and learn. We have to learn to just communicate and find exactly what it is we want, and maybe not chase our grandparents' relationship or expect the men to treat us like. Don't expect the man to treat you like your grandfather or your mother was treated if you can't treat them like your mother treated your grandfather, or your grandmother treated your grandfather, your mother treated your father.
Agreed.
Yeah, like if you can't give that back, if you don't know how to be that stay-at-home wife, that stay-at-home woman, but you want him to be how your grandfather was, how your grandfather took care of your grandmother and everything else, like your grandmother made sacrifices.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Your grandma put up with a lot of bullshit.
Shit, yeah, that you don't know nothing about.
Nothing about her own struggle. So I think it's just communication. I wish it was thing, and I think we have to, back to maybe the thing I think it is, I guess it may be a turnoff. If you have a man, could you date a dude that's always on social media, like posting pictures of himself and, you know what I'm saying, a whole bunch of female followers and whatever the case, like you're in a relationship
I'm
with
not
this guy,
dealing with that.
Yeah.
I'm not dealing with that. You could find out a lot when you see somebody's social media.
Yeah.
So if you do, you know what I'm saying, you type their name in and it pop up, you see something you don't like, you ain't even gotta worry about calling that person, none of that shit. None of it. It is a great research tool, but I'm with it. It's good for business, but although I don't always agree with Kevin Samuels, I do agree with him there. If you're always on social media, something ain't right. It's the equivalent of the person always going to the damn strip club every weekend. I ain't got no problem with, now if I had a dude and he want to go out and have a good time every now and then with his friends, okay, cool. But if you go in there every weekend, something is up. Yeah.
Quick question too. I know we're getting close to the end of this episode. Something else he said, and I wanted to get your opinion. He was like, women today, they say they want a man to intellectually stimulate them. And I found it interesting because, I mean, who doesn't enjoy being with somebody that they can talk to and they have a dope friendship? And then he was like, again, the grandpas today versus back then. And who's to say everything back then was right? We just seen more stability back then in the household. Or what we thought was more stability because all their business wasn't out. But he was like, we don't, wait, I lost my thought on this. About the whole thing of, wait, give me a second. Stability back then compared to now. We talked about social media. It was intellectual stimulation. He was like, when have you ever heard your grandma, somebody's grandma say, or whatever the case, or two old folks talk about, oh, they intellectually stimulate me, all this, whatever the case. You know, they was like, you know, most of the time, grandma was like, I'll be happy when his ass go to work, or when he, you know, whatever the case, because it was a working relationship.
It was basically a business, an agreement between two people, basically.
Yeah, and it was like, you know, there was love there, but the love was secondary. The intellectual conversation was secondary. And it was more about a union where we come to this agreement. This is my role. This is my thing. This is your role. This is your thing. This is what we're going to do. And you honor it amongst that business relationship compared to where we want, which I'm not saying is bad. I'm just discussing. We want, she has to intellectually stimulate me, or he has to intellectually stimulate me. He has to make 6 figures. He has to do this. She has to be able to do all these different things. And so sometimes maybe are we expecting so much? I'm not saying you should settle, but are we expecting so much that we're missing the fundamentals of what can make a relationship be successful?
Sometimes that can be very true. Sometimes that can be very, because people, like, it goes back to what we talked about with these couples posting on social media, making it look like everything is perfect. And that is just not the case. If you meet somebody and the chemistry is there and you have a lot in common and you can talk about anything and and it progresses, you want to take that next step, cool. As opposed to, okay, look, I messed around, I got you pregnant. That's how they used to do it back in the day.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get married. Barely knowing anything about each other except what they did in the bedroom together.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
But a man had to take care of his, was expected, or it was more common for a man to know he had to take care of his responsibilities.
Exactly.
So he took care of the household,
right?
But he was still out doing his dirt, and maybe he wasn't happy, maybe he wasn't whatever. But and even if he messed around and had another kid on the side or whatever case, he still knew that his main priority was supposed to be to his wife and his family at home.
Exactly.
Doesn't make it right. Doesn't make it right. Doesn't make it
at
okay.
all.
But we're just calling out again facts over feelings, I guess.
Exactly.
I keep thinking about fences.
Exactly. Oh yeah, fences. Yeah. And see, they just ended up actually, in a sense, being roommates. Yeah. Yep. The only thing I didn't like about that, she was so forgiving, but she expected her son to be the same way. And no, that can't be me. Because I was always taught never to let anybody mistreat my mama. And you think because you my dad, you exempt, motherfucker, it's going to be some problems.
Right.
Point blank, no, I ain't forgiving shit. Get your sorry ass up out of here. That's what you taught me.
Yeah. I think that's tough. Oh, last thing. Last thing. I read this and I had to put this post. Really, believe it or not, Kevin Samuels said this and it makes so much sense. And I think even Tia will agree with this. He was like, first he posed the question, who has the highest rate of suicide, male versus female?
I want to say, is it female?
Nope, male.
Really?
Almost two-thirds of suicide in the worldwide, are committed by men.
And that's across the board, racially? Across
the board, men, period. And he was like, he said, but it went, and maybe it's just how we are with expressing ourselves. He was like, but how many women are worried about, we worry in society about a woman's feeling how they feel about different things like that. But how many women or people, period, ask a man how he feels?
That's true.
You know, what is he going through? How are you feeling? What are you going through? Like, we just assume that, oh, he's a man, he's strong, he'll get over that shit. Man up.
That's true.
And so, and I thought about it and I was like, wow. He was like, man, and so it makes me think, and I had to look. He said it, but I went and researched it on my own. Like, I was like, like a bug, like, yo, I want to talk about this, and I thought about it like, man, like, wow, like literally 2/3 of the men worldwide are the number compared to 1/3 for women. Men commit suicide 2/3 more than women. And I was like, wow. Like, and I thought it was women too. But look how I know my brother's gone through different things in life. I've gone through different things in life. And there's been moments as a man where you like kind of like you shut down and you're dealing with it and you're trying to figure it out in your own way. And sometimes it's a hard fight with getting out of your own way to deal with the things that have you depressed or have you down or have you frustrated, because you don't want to come across as weak.
That's what I was going to say, but that also goes back to that conversation we had about people, the ego can get in the way, not wanting to accept counseling, not wanting to accept help or anything. There are some times where people do try to get males to talk and they don't want to. You can't force that.
Right, but what's the biggest thing going on right now between the ignorance of the world right now is alpha, beta males, beta males.
Oh, that bullshit.
So that doesn't help with men more or less becoming more expressive or more into figuring out what the hell is going on with themselves mentally. Because the minute you do it, now you're looked at now society wants to paint you as a beta male.
That's too bad. It goes back to being able to accept what we talked about, what comes with certain things. If you want mental peace of mind and you want help for your issues, you have to be willing to talk.
Yeah.
You can't, you know what I'm saying? Fuck what everybody else thinks.
Right. You have to get over that. You need to.
Right.
It's extremely needed to for your own sake. For your own health. Yeah, for your sake.
Right. For the sake of people that care about you and love, because there's been many times people did not, or they'll start out in counseling and then they'll stop. They don't want to go at all. You try to get them to open up and talk. They don't want to. And you have to want it for yourself too.
Yeah.
And if you're not willing to help yourself, you can't expect somebody to keep wasting their life or spending their life trying to constantly help you and get you to open up and tell them what it is you need.
So it goes back to that, man.
Mm-hmm.
How many people actually are asking their man or the men in their life, period?
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you okay? Do you need help?
Mm-hmm.
How are you feeling?
Mm-hmm. That's true too.
Yeah, so I think it was definitely a wake up call. Like, and all I could do is post it. Like, yo, like 2/3 of the suicides that are committed worldwide are by men and women. If you have any male in your life, just check up on them. Man.
Right.
Like, that's the biggest thing. Like, you know, like I never once thought to ask, you know, growing up, my stepdad, like, you ask him, are you okay? When you look bad or something like that, but never like, yo, how are you feeling?
Right.
Like, how are you, like, really, how are you feeling? Are you depressed? Like, you didn't think of those things, like, when you see the men in your life. Like, I never would have thought to ask my grandfather, yo, are you depressed? Are you thinking? I mean, I know when he's mad.
Right.
But, because anger is the one you show in the scene. But men, at least for us growing up, like, you didn't get to see the other emotions. Yeah,
you didn't. Men really don't like to emote. They don't.
You'll get happy when they're proud of you, but you don't get. And so you pick up on that as a man yourself, and so you're like, yo, like, I don't want to show that sign. That I don't even think it's a sign of weakness. It's just like it's a conditioning, whether we know it or not.
Exactly. Kind of an indoctrination, so to speak.
Yeah. And so it was just weird. Like, I mean, my bro can tell you, like, have you ever thought about if Pops was going through depression, like when we were kids, like, or like down and out? Like, we just knew when he was mad or he was in trouble.
Right.
You know, like, we didn't know if he was sad, like, or whatever. We just knew when he was mad, when we was sneaking watching pornos and rewind it back to where it was, or we record over his gospel tapes and put our rap music on him. You know, or we snuck and rode our bikes all the way on the other side of town. Different things like that. Like, we never knew, like, yo, are you depressed? Are you frustrated because, like, you're working your ass off at Bargain Court or at American Paper and different things like that, or you bought a new Pontiac Grand Am, badass car, and couldn't keep it but a couple months before somebody put sugar in your tank, and you can't afford to get it fixed because you still have this responsibility to take care of at home. You know, like,
that's true.
That's got to be some depressing, hard shit. But I've never seen that man, like, really, like, at least not to us. Maybe my mother heard, whatever case, but I've never seen that man, like, look like he was gonna quit on us. But I don't know if he was really going through hell on the inside.
Right. That's true. That is true.
Yeah, so it's just thought. But T, you got anything to add before we wrap up this episode? Or DA, you got anything you like to say before we wrap this up?
No, we are all set. I'm good.
Yeah. Well, I am your co-host, Black B. That is the beautiful, ever so elegant, talented, potty mouth having, but still sexy as she want to be, T. Yeah.
She already got comments online.
Ooh-wee. Over there looking like a Hershey kiss. Ooh. Nah, you are a beautiful sister and a talented one. You're gonna be a good catch for somebody. She's single, y'all. Greg ain't getting out, so she's single. That is our producer, the man in charge. That keeps it real. D80, aka Jeremiah Kitchen. This is a True Films Entertainment, also brought to you by AAA Productions. We are alive, aware, and awoke, and blessed and happy to be here, sharing our views, our thoughts, and our opinions. And it is for us facts over feelings any day, but we will express our feelings, even if we have to accept the facts. We thank y'all for listening. Till next time. Peace. Also, shout out Young Ashley, keep your head up and prayers for the homie.
Yes, we are.
Hope he gets better.
We are pulling and rooting for you always.
Always.
We out.